Hey guys,
Hey, how you doing, Steve?
we're back.
All right, great.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Well, are you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, hi, everybody. If you're watching this here live on the Footcandle Film Festival site, or if you're watching it as the recorded version from later in the weekend, either way, we're happy to have you here. My name is Alan Jackson. I'm co-director and co-founder of the Footcandle Film Festival. Over here to my left, other side of the room, is Chris Fry, also co-director and co-founder as well. So we're happy to have you here for our first screening, our first film on Saturday, which is, I guess, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, day 4 of the festival. My gosh, we've been doing this for 4 days now. So Chris and I don't think have left the studio. We have been here the entire time, ready to just entertain everybody with some films and discussions. And that's what's leading us to our discussion this morning, where we know on the recommended schedule, we had the film I've Got Issues that played this morning. And hopefully everybody had a great chance to be able to see that this morning. And now we are very, very happy to have with us writer and director Steve Collins with us. So Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting.
And where are you located, Steve?
I'm in Middletown, Connecticut.
Okay. All right. Now, I got this right, too, that you're over production over at Wesleyan University. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where Wesleyan's located. And we are trying to run a film program in the middle of the pandemic. And it's been a little stressful, but we have some students out there shooting as we speak.
Okay, well, good. That's really, really good to hear. Well, we definitely want to talk about I've Got Issues, and we've got a lot of feedback and questions, and we do have audience members who are going to be hopping in and maybe posting some questions for us to share with you as well. But first off, Chris and I had a blast watching it again this morning. I think it's a really great film, very, very ingenious in many ways. I'd just like to hear from you, kind of what was the genesis of the project, kind of what spurred you to want to make this film, and what were the factors that kind of led to it?
Well, they're kind of actually two things. Three things. One, I'd been doing a series of shorts, really about. I didn't mean to make them all about the same thing, but as when you're an independent filmmaker, you make a lot of shorts because they're cheaper. And I realized that all these shorts were kind of the same tone, and that they were essentially about sensitive people getting taken advantage of, and then me trying to process that through comedy. When the election happened, it kind of felt like all the sensitive people, all the kind people in the world were getting taken advantage of, and it felt quite traumatic for a lot of us. And so then when the shorts were playing at Slam Dance, the shorts that this film is based on were playing at Slam Dance, someone in the audience in the Q&A raised their hand and was like, "You should make a feature out of this." And I just sort of explained why that would be a terrible idea. You'd have to the audience would have to keep on stopping and starting and stopping and starting. It's like, you guys are programmers. The shorts program is like really hard to program because of that feeling of having to start and stop over and over again. I was like, so that's why it wouldn't work. And no, I thank you for your question and everything. But then I got home and it just kind of stuck with me, the idea of maybe, if you connected them thematically, even if it wasn't, it could be one story, and so that's what got me started on just being interested in doing something with that kind of structure, which, as you know, doesn't get done often. And I don't know. I mean, I think I'm happy with it. I think it works, but I'm not going to say it wasn't difficult to edit. When I was editing it, some of those, I was sort of, I kind of wanted to kill that guy who asked the question because for the exact reason that I said in the Q&A, it was difficult because the first cut of this film felt like you were starting and stopping and starting and stopping. That
was actually, you kind of read my mind about one of the questions I was going to ask, is whether this was developed as a series of shorter vignettes, or was it thematically already developed as a larger cohesive piece? It sounds like it was truly the segments and the vignettes, and you just found a way to bring them together into a one story.
Well, it was written as a one piece, so like it was in the roughly the order that it is in now. Okay. There was just more of it, and we cut a lot out because we realized that anything that didn't, it's very rewarding for the audience when characters return and
yes.
Things get threaded together. Because it gets rid of that feeling of stopping and starting. And there were a couple of things that I was fond of, vignettes that I was quite fond of that didn't return. They were on point thematically, but they didn't return. And so we essentially got rid of all of those.
So the goal was to kind of bring it to something where you brought some familiarity back throughout the story, both with some of the scenes, but also with, of course, the same actors and all. It just kind of give it more of a through line there.
I think I I don't know how, I'm going kind of deep. I don't know if anyone cares, but I had made a little bit of an error. And I had been working with these actors for so many years that I think of them all as the same person. And when the audience sees them, they see them as distinct characters. And so I made a little leap of, I made a little bit of a bad leap in thinking that if it was just the same actor, they would just jump right in and follow the story along. But if they're playing a different character, it doesn't work that way. And so we had to get rid of some of the characters that didn't return, even though they were played by the same actors. And I thought of it as, oh, well, it's clear you're not going to really invest in these characters as, real fictional characters because they keep being played by different actors. But that's not really how film works. Audiences really do invest in the feelings and, thoughts and desires of these people, and they want to follow them.
That's right. I've got to ask you, and I think I even see that somebody, I think, is in the comment asking or mentioning about the acting as well. The acting throughout was really, really strong. You had a great bank of actors to work with. And, some actors I know I've seen in other work or do some other work, and even getting them to do a bit of, dark or dry comedy, which maybe for some of them I haven't seen as much. That was really great. So you want to talk to us about kind of how you got connected with the acting group you use in this?
Yeah, I mean, the project is really about, misfits and, people who don't feel, outcasts. And we all these actors, I mean, I don't want to call them outcasts, but I think they're all very special. And all of them are also, we're all struggling artists. We're not getting paid to do this. We're not. So the project was really, I've been working with these people so long that I saw the project as a kind of lifeboat, as we're struggling out here trying to make things, to bring them all together and give them a showcase. I knew they would fit together because I've been working with them in different permutations for years, and it was written for them, and I wanted it to be a kind of showcase for their abilities, and it made the actual production very simple. Sometimes the way casting works on movies, when you're going out to name people is, when they say yes, then they show up on set. You don't have any time to rehearse and you go, and you really got to hope that you nailed that decision right, because if it doesn't work, that's when directing is really hard. And you have to somehow, with your directing powers, make them fit and meld into your world. In this case, I did very little of that kind of, all the directing I did was with the camera. It wasn't with the actors. They knew what they were doing. Yeah. I just laughed in the corner. And I didn't really have to, give them a pat on the back or whatever, say that one was better than that one, that kind of thing. So it was very effortless because of the design of the film. And we did have a couple of new people, and that was very stressful to fit them in. But I'm thrilled with them. We had Randy Agubo, who plays Roy in it. Yeah. the guy who gets the letter from Hollywood. And Randy is just like a prince of a guy. And he fit in just great. And then Claire Titleman, who plays several roles there, the woman who gets stuck with the chair, Mr. Pizza and Griselda.
Oh, right, yes.
She's the one who's housing them. Claire, I saw her reel, and I just instantly knew she would fit in with the gang. And then we had Maria Thayer, who we had do a small scene, and she's a real pro and fit in real well. And then Jim Gaffigan doing the voiceover. Yeah. Jim's deadpan is so. I just knew who he was. So, and he's a very, he is a person who cares about things, as we've seen from his latest rant. Mm-hmm. He's not a shallow person, he has some real depth to him. And so he was an easy fit in there. But, the short answer is that, the piece was written for, 80% of the characters. Yeah. And that really does help. They're not, they were very comfortable, in the scenes, and it was tailored to them. And a lot of directing actors is about making them feel comfortable so they can do their best.
Well, I would think too, it seemed like all of them were on board for the project. Mentally they knew what they were doing. They knew what the film was going to be doing. And I think, like you said, I love seeing the variety of parts they got to play for several of them anyway, or at least different settings and different interactions they got to play. I would imagine for an actor, that's got to be, like you say, that's just got to be a playground to just say, look, I get to go in and do these certain scenes and play these types of characters. So that's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like John Merriman, who I've been working with since, 1999 or something, when I first met him, a lot of times I have him play these sort of sad sack characters, which he does do in this as well. But I made sure to write him. Knowing him so well, he's a real performer. Like, he likes to entertain people, and he was never happier than when he was playing that Southern lawyer.
Oh my gosh, that was so great!
He was so thrilled because he's that kind of person who likes to entertain people, and he knew everyone was enjoying that when he's performing it, and he did it flawlessly. Like, he had no lack of confidence, oh, am I doing it right? He just came out and just slayed it. And everyone was like cracking up in the background. And, so, and it's the same with Paul Gordon, who's a very, very truly mild-mannered gentleman, very deadpan. A beautiful person, but to have him play that blues guitar, everyone knew it was going to be a really strange casting choice to have this inherently slow person play this blues legend who's just terrible at what he's doing. And again, Paul just got up there, no direction needed, just slayed. And that's probably the hardest I had ever laughed, maybe ever, but definitely on.
Well, I was going to say, I think you hit on a couple of the moments. Trying to figure out where you were going to go with what actor was going to play what part, even in the courtroom scene towards the end. When you hear the voice, but you don't see the actor's face, and I'm waiting to see, okay, which of the 7 or 8 actors is he going to put in this role, was really fun. So I love that you could play them against their type a little bit. So it was good. Very good.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Chris, I think we got some questions from the audience, right? Why don't you take a couple of there?
So you mentioned the pizza guy, and one of the people wants to know, what was the inspiration for the pizza guy?
Well, the movie was a kind of laundry list of things that bothered me about modern life, and of course, our kind of as I'm staring at my phone now, our fusion to technology is something that I think a lot of us have noticed is maybe not a net good thing for humans interacting with each other.
Sure.
And so I wanted to do something like that, but set in a different kind of, what do they call it? Cathode tube TV universe. Because it's funnier to me, to do it as dusty technology. It's, the graphics are all kind of Nintendo stuff that was part of my youth, and then that's a very real anxiety, I think, of a lot of us, that we're just going to kind of melt in our couch and fuse with our pizza and our takeout food and our couch. We spend so much time, especially now in the pandemic, just on the couch. I work on my couch. I watch my TV on my couch. So it is processing some of that anxiety. And then I really do love practical effects. I like those Cronenberg films with all the Videodrome and all. I mean, that was a big part of my kind of young film nut development. And so I've always wanted to do something with some of that kind of body horror. So that's kind of where it comes from. But it's supposed to, when we've screened that can be a real divisive section. And it's funny because you just don't, that's just kind of in my wheelhouse. So when I made it, I didn't think of it as being that separate. Yeah. But it did, certainly, as we screened it, I've noticed, like, some people are like, yeah, not that one. And I actually found it, I don't think I would have put it in there if I didn't have it continue and have him kind of meet Griselda. And like, part of what I thought was the magic trick of this movie was that it took you to places that were very, very, very strange, but then always pulled you back to a place of a kind of spiritual place, that it kind of pulled these guys out of gross and took you to something, or gross or weird, and took you to something that was really emotionally honest. And I think the pull out of Mr. Pizza fused to his couch to actually finding love, I found that almost like a miracle. And I found it very moving and touching and strange. And I don't think I would have put something as gross as Mr. Pizza in there if it didn't go to the same place that all the other vignettes were trying to go.
That's awesome. I have to say, just on a related note, and you already mentioned the scene, but Chris and I think what I'm going to have to do, because Chris has already indicated this was his favorite part of the film, is I think every day I'm going to write him a handwritten note and stick it on his desk saying, "Good job, Chris," and signed Hollywood. Because that's going to be our new thing going forward. So that was just a nice, tender touch to close out that story as well. So again, I think that same idea, you took him to extreme situations, but still brought him back to a point of some normalcy and some niceness and some generous. I'm very moved by that scene together, the way all these misfits end up sort of inadvertently helping each other. There are some scenes where all the misfits can't help each other. There's this sort of scene where Tom, who's the Macon Blair, plays the guy who's doing the interview with Maria Thayer. Yeah. And they're hurting, including Miss Pennyweather, who's the secretary. All of them are hurting misfits, and they cannot help each other. They're so absorbed in their own suffering that they cannot help each other. And, in directing Macon, that was all I was sort of telling him, is I wanted to make sure he didn't really do anything that was actually trying to be cruel. It was just that he's so absorbed in the loss of his mother that he's inside himself, and he's inadvertently kind of brutalizing the people around him. And so I sort of was playing with things like that, where sometimes you'd have that situation, and then sometimes you'd have the situation where it worked out, where by happenstance, all the misfits, the mailman helps the two sad people, and that enables him to help
the lady next door who's in the thrift fair.
Yeah, that was so great. Chris, I think there's another comment or question.
Absolutely. Someone wants to know, what's your mood today? More like the ending or the beginning of the movie?
I don't know. I'm feeling a little, I mean, it goes up and down, you know. If you asked me that a month ago, I would have said more like the beginning. It's hard. I mean, certainly the pandemic has made, you know, like I was saying to these guys earlier, it sort of turned everyone into alienated artists. We definitely noticed that in the response to it. In response to the film, that it was resonating even deeper. But, you know, it is just, I think the reason is because it was forged in the zeitgeist of the election. And the only thing, things have only gotten worse. And the pandemic basically just shut us all in to think about it. And we didn't like what we were thinking and feeling. And but, you know, me personally, I'm a teacher as well. And so I'm now happily, things are actually moving. And I think there was a tremendous amount of anxiety that we wouldn't be able to go back to work, and that we would shut down immediately, and that we'd be stuck in our homes. But I go to work every day, and I get to teach filmmaking, which I love, you know, I'm very passionate about. So I'm personally more like the end. I feel a little liberated, but I'm not stuck in my house anymore. I go to work. And if we shut down, I go back the other way.
That's right. Okay.
Sure.
Great. Chris?
So a question's asked, which of the vignettes do you regret leaving out? Because you mentioned how some of them kind of, is there one that you really regret leaving out?
Well, no, I mean, I think all of them should have gone out. They're actually right now on if you go to our YouTube trailer kind of page, if you do a little search, there are two vignettes that I think are really, really strong that I thought were worth kind of releasing, and they're out there. Okay. They're called Hey and Hey There. And there was a kind of thread that went through of these pieces where people opened the door and they went, hey, and then something would start. And I kind of regret that that's gone, because it had a little punchline at the end that doesn't really make sense, where Macon says to his mother, hey, and you just think, oh, that's weird. But it was supposed to be kind of like a very long punchline. So, yeah, I regret that. But if you notice, they're both these static doorway scenes, and they really kind of pulled down the rhythm of the movie. And they also don't return. The characters don't return. And they're on point thematically, but they're not necessary. And so I think they work fine as vignettes. There was also there was a whole sort of section that was taken out about where I really got a little maybe cerebral and started talking about the connection between comedy and despair, like with the audience. And there's a kind of sequence where Hitler attacks a clown, and the sequence is very visual and kind of it's all in the mist and everything, and the clown beats Hitler, and you know, but it was a little people were a little confused by it. So I don't regret leaving it out, but I did like seeing Sam Eitzen in his little Hitler costume getting pushed down into the mud. And visually, it was quite a scene. And it meant something to me, because the movie really, though it no longer says it overtly, is really about comedy. It is a comedy nerd's love letter to comedy mattering and comedy meaning something. But, you know, I did have some good producers, and they did talk to me, and they said, you know what, that's in there. You don't have to say it out loud. You know, and I do agree with that. And the movies I love don't usually say it out loud to you. You sort of get that message that, you know, comedy matters. It actually helps people through difficulty, and comedy is a way. And comedy is also a kind of it's a different perspective. It's looking at something awful and saying, you know, maybe and the movie is a lot about perspective, about like, wait, are we going to be locked inside ourselves, or are we going to back up and look at the big picture? And that's kind of what comedy is. It's, if you slip on a banana peel and you stay on a close up with the person hitting their head, it's painful. If you back up, it's funny.
That's true. Yeah.
That's true.
Chris, you got one more question there?
Yeah,
for the audience?
somebody was just saying they love how the initial characters are so overwhelmed by trivial things going wrong, which can easily be fixed. And they were just saying that, and that's so true about how you see things that just seem insurmountable, but yet, and circling back to something Alan said, he mentioned that favorite scene of mine, and yeah, it's just of delivering the response from Hollywood, and it's just like, the title of the film is I've Got Issues, but yet if you think like there's so many little acts of kindness that are in the film, and that's like, so yeah, it's just, it doesn't take much, but little acts of kindness, So I really enjoyed that part.
No, that is the point, and that I'm a lot of people have mentioned how much they relate to that guy getting his keys locked in his car, to Roy, Randy's getting his keys locked in his car, and it's happy to see that I suspected, but that I am not the only one who lets small things suddenly become existential crises. That you get your keys locked in your car, and you're like, God, why me? Why are we here? What's the point of it all? Why? And again, it's an issue of the way we can be our own worst enemy, our own jailer, and that one of the things comedy does is it gives you perspective. It gives you the ability to step back and say, we're kind of, a lot of us are sort of trapped in our own heads, and that's what comedy can do. It can pull you out and give you a little perspective. And the real thing is sometimes there are things that aren't trivial, like you walk out and you see a guy in a Klan outfit, and there's working for a white supremacy newsletter, recycling, and I think the deeper message of the movie is, the same way, that you do need that same perspective, whether it's locking your keys in your car or dealing with genuine trauma. You do actually have to be able to find a way to get perspective. And that doesn't mean you have to laugh. It's really about kind of pulling back and finding a way to exist with pain in the world. But anyway, that may be a little too deep.
No, that's so great. Yeah. Thanks. Steve, how can people find out more, or do you have another project you're working on? Anything that's upcoming that people want to follow you or kind of see what's coming up?
If you get on our Facebook page for this movie, I'm going to release a short soon that we did after this. Okay. When we were done, we were all kind of sad, and the following summer we made a short because you do this big enterprise and you think, and now things will change either with the world or with it, but still everybody was broke, nobody getting work. We got together, we made a short called Deflated. And that I'm going to release next week. And so if people go to the I've Got Issues Facebook page and follow that, that'll be out on there. And then I wrote a horror because things got worse. I wrote a horror movie. And I don't know what's happening with that. With a lot of things, everything's kind of paused. And so I don't know what's going to go on with that. And I also don't know that I want to live in a horror movie for the 3 years it'll take to make it. So I got to kind of figure out if I want to reach towards the light or hang out.
Well, listen, Steve, thanks so much for joining us today and being a part of this festival. And we really enjoyed having your film, and we were very excited to have it as one of the selections. But thank you also for spending some time out of your day to kind of talk to us. And we would have loved to have been doing all this here live in Western North Carolina in person. But, it is what it is, and this is the next best thing we can do. So thank you for being a part of it today.
I hope I can come back when you're live sometime with my next movie.
Absolutely. Consider it an invitation when that happens. That would be great. We'd love to figure that out. So everybody, right. Steve Collins, writer and director of I've Got Issues. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for everybody watching, being part of the Footcandle Film Festival this weekend. Still a lot more films to see throughout the weekend. And please make sure you also go and rate and review all the films that you've seen. If you forgot to rate it after you watch the film, you can actually go back to the page where you got a ticket for the film. And that way you are actually able to see the rating sheet underneath the image of the film, and you can give it a rating right there on the spot as well. So please make sure you go back and do that. Those ratings help determine our audience favorite award that we'll be announcing on Sunday evening at our live events, live award ceremony. So